Hello, I'm David Kinder and I'm the head of English at Godalming College. I'm standing outside the 400s, which is a purpose-built building for English and modern foreign languages, finished in 2016. My colleagues and I in this video are going to give you a taste of what it's like to study English language at Godalming. But first, let's have a look at our superb facilities. So this is where we study English literature, English language and literature. And you can see it's a nice, bright, spacious area. Good place to read, good place to study, good place just to meet with your friends at lunchtime and have a chat. Okay, so here is a typical classroom, as you can see. It's light and airy. You've got banks of computers to use if you want to on either side of the room. Display boards for us to put your work, and plenty of white space here on the wall for us to put up our ideas, put up your ideas, and for you to write sometimes too. So that gives you an idea of where you'll be studying. What's it like to study English at Godalming College? Well, we are a team of expert teachers. We've got 2 members of staff who have PhDs. We've got members of staff who produce writing professionally for other teachers and for students. We've got members of staff who work as examiners, who set exam papers. We've got members of staff with all sorts of brilliant specialisms, and you will be in very safe hands here studying A-level. But I think it's important to emphasise that for us as a department, one of the central parts of our ethos is that it is your ideas that in the end really matter. Because actually, to do well at A-level in English, you have to develop your own critical skills, whether you're studying English literature, English language, or English language and literature. It all comes back to developing your own lines of inquiry. So I'm going to hand you over now to Jenny Hunter-Phillips, who's going to introduce English language A-level at Godalming College.
Hello, welcome to English language A-level. I'll just skip over here so you can see these images. Welcome. The first thing really to note about the A-level is that it's very different from the GCSE and what you're used to. So at GCSE you will have studied lots of written texts, often literary texts, which is great, and those skills will be so useful to you at A-level. But language is much bigger than that, and that's what makes the A-level really so exciting, because language isn't just writing and it isn't just literature, it's everything. And actually most of what we use language for is speech. So you'll be studying speech from how we learn to speak as children to how as adults our identity is shaped around language, so how people in different parts of the country speak differently in terms of accents and dialects, whether men and women speak differently, and if they do, why? Is it biological or is it sociological? Are we taught to speak differently, for example? You'll also look at online texts, so you'll be looking at why we use symbols, emojis, more punctuation, less punctuation online than you do in your essays, for example. And of course you'll also still be looking at written text, but you'll be looking at all written texts. So we want you to see as much as you can in language. And the nice thing about language is, once you start analysing it, you really can't turn it off. So in about week 4 of your studies, you'll be listening to your parents talking, your friends talking, your managers talking, and you'll notice something about the way they're speaking and you'll be analysing it. You'll see something pop through the letterbox that you've normally thrown recycling and you'll notice something about it. And that's really what makes this subject and this subject at A-level so exciting. It's essentially linguistics, which is the study of language and its structures at this level and beyond. And that of course gives you power, and power, which is shown by this light bulb here, is also something we study. We study how language is conveying power all the time, how we're being manipulated through language all the time. And of course that gives you power, because that gives you a command of the language. And that's what makes it so useful for almost any degree and almost any career. And you will use that command of the language in your own writing in a journalistic piece, and you'll be analysing it in media pieces written by others and looking at how you can see the agenda behind what they're saying, the bias in what they're saying. You'll also be analysing how language has changed over time from something we don't really identify with at all today. It's completely indistinguishable from the language that you're using now. And once you have all of this at your disposal, you will then consider how you can investigate language yourself. something that's been interesting to you across the course, you will then take further and develop into your own project. And it could be on anything as long as it has a language focus. So it might be how the media has portrayed a particular social group, whether men and women are different online. It could be anything as long as it's about language. So really, in the meantime, the best thing you can do to prepare for this course is to read as much as possible and absorb all of the language around you, because that's essentially what we'll be doing with you. For now, I'm going to pass you over to Adam Juice, who is one of my colleagues and will be one of your teachers. He's going to talk to you, give you a bit of a taster of what language entails.
Thank you, Jenny. So, yes, English language at A-level allows you to explore many different topics, including forensic linguistics, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. Forensic linguistics, in a nutshell, is how we analyse the language of law and legal structures. And so, as Jenny just mentioned, it's all about power. So, in order to explore what forensic linguistics is, we first have to answer the question, do we each have a linguistic fingerprint? Now, a linguistic fingerprint can be defined, as the term suggests, as a unique way of communicating that distinguishes us from one another. No doubt this is more easy to identify with spoken language, so through, for example, through accent and dialect, but it can also be through somebody's written forms of language, particularly when you think of online instant messaging and text messaging, and also the fact that the way that we write even formal forms of language lead us to use certain features that others might not do. So, if we agree that we each have a linguistic fingerprint, we can then move on to the concept of forensic linguistics. Now, as I mentioned earlier in this video, it's looking at the language of law, essentially, and crime investigation, trial and judicial procedure, and how language is used in these contexts, because these are very serious formal proceedings, and the language used can have serious consequences. Now, for today's focus, we're looking at a branch of forensic linguistics called comparative authorship analysis. And this looks at the language used by particular individuals and tries to discern whether the language used is that of the person under question. So the case study we're going to have a look at is Amanda Burks. She died on the 17th of January 2009, and it was appeared to be that she died in a house fire. Christopher Burks, her husband, managed to rescue the children, but couldn't rescue his wife, Amanda. Now, the question started to arise about the fact that was it an accident, because there were potential signs of murder. The first was the fact that there was no smoke inhalation, which you would expect in a fire. There was no attempted escape from Amanda, and she was wearing outside clothes in bed. There was also some questions about the evidence over the timing. There were no movements recorded on the alarm, and Amanda sent text messages throughout the day up until 7:48 in the evening. So, the police collected 200 messages from Christopher Burks and from Amanda Burks, their text messages, and this is what our focus is on of comparative authorship analysis, comparing the language features of both of these individuals. So, if we have a look at this slide here, you can see that Amanda Burke's texting style features are on the left-hand side in blue. You will see that, for example, she will say add for had, so removing the H, and she will use the standard contracted form of don't, along with these other blue variants here, some of which are used by Christopher Burks, some which aren't used by Christopher Burks at all. And we have the same on the right here with Christopher Burks' texting style features. Again, we'll use 2 and 4 in numeric form, with just without a vowel and don't without a vowel, and further ones down here. Again, there's no use by Amanda Burks of these features on the right. So what I want you to do now is pause the video and make a note of these features that are unique or sometimes used by these particular individuals. So now that you've done that, we can have a look at different messages sent from their phones. So in front of us we have one of Christopher Burks, again using the features that forensic linguists have spotted that are exclusive to him, these ones in red up the top, and then one example of a feature that is usually used by Amanda Burks, but sometimes used, as it says on the left here, by Christopher Burks. We can then move forward to Amanda Burks. So again, here we have these features in blue, which are exclusive to her. And indeed, there are no examples here of Christopher Burks' texting style used. So what I would like you to do ahead of the live Going to Godalming Day session is I would like you to look at these text messages which were sent from Amanda Burks on the day she died on her phone, and I would like you to identify what features are exclusively Amanda's in terms of the previous slide, what features are perhaps exclusively from Christopher Burks, and then see if there is a shift in texting style from Amanda Burks to Christopher Burks, and we will pick up your thoughts and ideas in the live session. So I look forward to seeing you then.
All right, well, thank you very much to Adam for that fascinating taste of forensic linguistics. We hope that it's whetted your appetite and that on either the 25th or the 26th of June you will come to our longer English language taster session, when you'll also get the opportunity to ask questions of members of staff a little bit more about the course. If you're not watching this around the time of Going to Godalming, you're watching it a little bit later, well, don't worry. Follow the email link that we sent you, go on to Microsoft Teams, and you will find both this video, another copy of this video, but also a follow-up video in which Adam will take you through some of the things that went on to solve that fascinating puzzle of how it was that the investigators were able to use that linguistic data off a mobile phone to solve a murder. And much more besides, of course, when you arrive in September. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much. See you soon.